have any recommendations for family, friends, caregivers of people who are experiencing this to help them calm themselves? And you've already talked about reducing the stress and things. Anything else you can think of?
Well, the one real thing that they
need
need to know is they've got to read that article that I wrote called Phantom Voices, Ethereal Music, and Other Spooky Sounds. The phantom sounds that many hard of hearing people experience but are afraid to talk about because they're afraid they are crazy. Right. That's not quite the term, but it's a long one. If you read that article, if every caregiver read it and understood it and talk it over with the person that's hearing it, they'll understand what's going on. And once you understand, then you can run interference for the person. But it's when you don't have anybody to help you, and so you live alone, no caregiver, and you start hearing the neighbor next door or up or down or wherever it is, and you call the cops on them, you call the lawyers on them, you go to the management of the apartment complex and say, you know, that neighbor is playing music all time, day and night, and you've got to do something. And they get everybody all upset.
Right.
And I tell these people, you know, they come to me too, and I tell them, you got to read this, understand this person is totally deluded. They believe that what they're hearing is real because it sounds real, it's got direction, and they can feel it. And so understand, get in their shoes, they're acting totally sane based on what their brain is telling them is happening, even though it's not. And treat them that way. They're not mentally ill, but they are deluded when they think that that is real.
Exactly.
But if they're young enough that they can understand that there's two kinds, there's psychiatric and non-psychiatric, and they've got the non-psychiatric, and they can understand that, it solves everything.
That's great. And like you say, so many people who are dealing with this are hard of hearing. And even if they're not going to rush to a doctor to get advice, they surely will probably visit their hearing specialist. And the more hearing specialists who can know about this, the better that they can get to the root of this. And this article you referred to, would this be something we could share a link to in the comments below?
Very definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And I can attest, I'd love to get, and I plan to get all of your books, but the one that I have read and I can vouch for certainly is the Phantom Voices?
Phantom Voices, Ethereal Music, and Other Spooky Sounds.
I love the title. It's so good. And I love that you bring out the sense of humor with that. So that's a wonderful way to do that. So any parting words about the musical ear syndrome before we get into our closing?
Just enjoy it.
All right. Thank you so much with that. And I wanted to share something. Dr. Neil has what I think is a fascinating hobby and very useful hobby, and related to his work. He has an antique hearing aid collection. And I had an experience when I was a little kid of a relative, an older relative, hard of hearing, and she held up a hearing trumpet. I mean, I may have been about 4. So yes, and I've never seen or heard of this device in all these years in between then and now. And so I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite specimen in your collection? Where do you keep it? And I see that you're sharing some bison horns and trumpets. So tell us a little bit more about your collection. It's fascinating.
Well, I got into this maybe about 10 years ago. Maybe it's 12 years ago now. Time goes by.
Yep.
When you're having fun.
I know.
And I saw a friend of mine that had a collection, and he was getting older, and I wondered, you know, how does anybody know about this? And so I said, I'll make a website and we'll call it the Hearing Aid Museum. So I got the domain name hearingaidmuseum.com, and we started putting his stuff on it, and then I got bitten by the bug and I started collecting hearing aids, and eventually I bought my friend out, and now this collection, the Hearing Aid Museum, is now the second largest hearing aid collection in the world.
Wow.
And so I have about 1,500 different hearing aids and different devices. And this one here
I love that.
is what everybody thinks of as a hearing horn, but this one is so beautiful.
It
It gives,
is. It should be in a shadow box with a light on it. It's
yeah, I
beautiful.
can't quite see it, but it is beautiful, mellow sound. And I make these bison horns.
That's
And
beautiful too.
so I was just showing Christine before, but I just got a new shipment in, but that's what a bison horn looks like when it starts out life. It's looks pretty yucky, and I sand them down, and when I get finished, they're like this, and they work very well. And you know, I can hear when I put one of these in my ears or one of these, I can actually hear my own voice. Otherwise, I could be talking away, and it's such a low rumble that I don't hear it. As soon
That's
as
amazing.
I hear very nice.
How about tin cans and a string? Tin cans and a string. Does that work?
I never could hear a thing of them. I can't hear anything anyway.
Yeah.
But I want to show you something. Here's an interesting one. This is a hearing aid from 1947. So I was 1 year old when this one came out.
Oh my goodness.
This is the hearing aid, and it has the batteries in the back of it. You can open it up. There's no batteries in it, but I've got the batteries for it. And you've got the earplug that you put in your ear, and you've got a nice hearing aid. But what's unique about this one is that you can see there's two holes in it, right here and here.
Right.
And this little device has two little pins, and
Oh.
you put the pins in the holes, and now your hearing aid is an AM radio, and there's your radio tuner. You can tune from 550 to 1600.
That seems so innovative for back then.
And this is the antenna. You just let it hang down. And so in 1947, hard of hearing people could walk down the street and listen to the radio, but there wasn't any other radios available for the hearing people at that time.
Oh my goodness.
And so this thing on the side is called the Radion, quite a rare device. And the next year, 1948, they came out with one that was actually twice as thick, and it had a tube in it as a preamplifier. And I think we're the only museum that has both the Radion and the Super Radion.
That's amazing. Are they making anything like that? Have they modernized that? Or is anything else like that out on the market now?
Well, everybody's had their Sony Walkmans and their radios and so on. So you don't need it.
Sure.
But it was just interesting what they did. There's so many wonderful things and ingenuity that they had back in all the years back.
Absolutely. That is just fascinating.
If you want to see the collection, it's only about half of them are up on the website because I don't have time to do nothing but do hearing aids. I got to retire sometime.
I know.
But you go to hearingaidmuseum.com and you'll see them.
Fabulous, fabulous. That sounds so great. So how about, do you have any advice for people first noticing hearing loss in general? What if they're thinking that I have a friend who's in this category and he thinks he needs to go get his ears tested, and I was kind of thinking maybe you need to wait until it's a little bit more severe, or is it better to do it sooner rather than later?
Depends whether you want to get dementia or later or not.
Okay, there's that connection. That's an important
There is that connection. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, by the time you think that you have lost some hearing, you actually have a pretty massive hearing loss.
Really?
My brother-in-law, who's quite a bit younger than me, he told me he had a little bit of hearing loss in one ear. He went to the audiologist, and his audiogram just sloped right down to profound. So now he wears a hearing aid in that ear. But he didn't think it was that bad. Mm-hmm. So I would say go to an audiologist, ask them for a complete audiological evaluation. And if they say you need hearing aids or a hearing aid, get it. Now, my advice for people is wear your hearing aid when it helps you. If it doesn't help you, don't wear it. Like, where's my hearing aids right now? They're in my pocket. They're not on my ears because I'm wearing a headset. I've got an amplifier, a very powerful amplifier, far more powerful than my hearing aids, hooking it to the computer so that I can hear while we're making this program.
Okay,
And
that's
so the first thing is get your hearing aids or amplification. Use whatever you need. Here's a little pocket talker. Think of it as an old pocket hearing aid. I use this more often than I wear my hearing aids because it works so much better for me. So whatever works, do what works.
great.
Because if you don't correct your hearing, you're going to isolate yourself more and more. And the latest research shows that it is a factor in earlier and more severe dementia.
Excellent point. I'm glad you brought that out. And while we're talking about hearing aids, could we say a bit about, I've seen wireless hearing aids advertised, and it just makes me shudder thinking about the radiation going right into the brain that way. And any comments about the wireless hearing aids that we've seen out there?
Well, if you notice, I don't wear them. I got wires. What happens is if you have what they've done wonderful things with this technology, but there's a caveat. Do you want that radiation going right, because the hearing aids are right in your ears now, and they talk to each other. For example, you can get hearing aids so that if somebody's on this side of me, big blabbermouth, talking loud, and Christine's on this side of me trying to talk to me, and I can't hear over that, my hearing aids can turn this microphone off so I can't hear blabbermouth, and turn this one up so I can hear her, and then this hearing aid will transmit to this one so both ears can hear her, and neither ear can hear that. Now that's wonderful.
It is.
But it's 2.4 gigahertz, same frequency that your cell phone's at, same frequency your Wi-Fi's are at, and so on. These are microwaves, and they're dangerous to your health.
Yes.
So you gotta play it. Now somebody might say, well, it's a very weak signal. Well, that's true, but it's also down in your ear canal, and it's going straight through your head.
Yes.
So that makes it worse. Now, if you want to use it, fine. But you'll notice I don't use that technology.
Right.
And so it's just a matter of a personal preference.
And doing your research, making up your own mind.
And I would love to have that facility. Now, they used to have ones where they had a cord that went around from one ear around the back of your head to the other. But who wants to have this cord in the way all the time? Yes. So everybody likes wireless now. And you've got wireless hearing aids. They'll hook up to your TV. They'll hook up to your cell phone. They've got Bluetooth in them. Now, Bluetooth is still 2.4 gigahertz. It's still microwaves. So you're not winning by saying you're going to use Bluetooth headset or something.
No.
It's just that it's lower power than, say, your modem, but same frequency, same pulsed radiation, problems with your health. Absolutely.
And we'll include some information to more articles where you can do your own research on that to see what you think on that as well. So I believe we've really run the gamut with this comment. Thank you so much for the education. And it's just been a pleasure to meet you. You've just been fun to talk with. And I think we could go for weeks, and maybe we will one day. So thank you.
Hopefully just in a few weeks we go, not go for weeks.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much for what you do, your dedication. You're helping so many. And I'm going to do my part to help further that message for all of us, and just bring a better peace of mind to so many people who are feeling alone and frightened about this. So there's no need for that, and we can make it better. So thank you so much for all you do, and we will have information about how to reach you, and as well as your books.
All of that. And remember, I'm one of you. I'm not a person that sits on my ivory tower up there and says, you do this. I've lived with this every day of my life. So I'm saying, here's what's worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you too. And that's why
Absolutely.
people like coming to me, because I'm just me.
And you walk your talk, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much for all you do,
My
Dr.
pleasure.
Neil. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.